Welcome back, dear learners. Let us continue La Belle Dame Sans Merci. That means the beautiful lady without mercy. Actually, the title of the poem is taken from French language. I told you in the previous video that this title was taken from Ellen Chartier, who had written a poem by the same title in the 15th century. Only there was a difference of spelling of the last word of the title, that is mercy. So the title of the poem is French. It means the lady without mercy. So let's continue and finish the last 6 stanzas of this beautiful ballad from the pen of John Keats. She found me roots of relish sweet. He says that fairy just a woman, or that strange divine kind of woman or woman, it seemed that she belonged to some other world. She took him, she gave him, she gave him the root of, she gave him some edible roots. Relish means delicious, taste sweet, and honey wild. And she also offered him a very special kind of honey and manna dew. Manna dew, here see, there is allusion, reference of that very particular food item given to the people of Israel by the God when they were going out of Greece. So here the poet makes use of these two different kind of divine food items, particularly to let us know, or particularly to give us a hint that the woman this night at arms met at a grassland, or in a grassland, or on a grassland, was somehow not an ordinary woman. Why? Because he calls her the child of the fairy, that she looks absolutely strange. So this woman just gave him wild, honey wild, and manna dew, and shaw in language strange. See, again, language strange means the language the language this knight actually spoke, that woman, she did not speak. She spoke some different language, and it is possible, if he uses the word strange, it means he did not understand actually the language of that woman. That is the another hint to let us know that that very particular woman did not belong to this world. She was not an earthly creature, but she belonged to some other world. She said, so he says, I'm sure. Actually, her facial expression made me assure that what did she say in her strange language? She expressed her love for me. She said, I love thee true. Thee means you, true means truly. So he says that very particular strange and unearthly woman just at last just expressed her deep love for him in her strange language, that she truly loved him. She took me to her elfin grossy. Elfin, again, this word is associated with the fairies. Actually, this word is not associated with the creatures on this planet, means human beings. So he says, grot, you can say a cave. So he says that very particular woman, after feeding me with honey, wild, and manna, dew, and relish sweet, she took me to her cave. She took me to the place she resided, and there she wept and sighed full sore. And he says, when she took me to her place, there she wept Why did she weep? What were the reason of her actually crying? The poet here does not actually explain us, or does not make it clear. But maybe we may think that why did she cry? Why? Because she thought that their union to some extent was not possible. Why? Because this knight belonged to this world and she belonged to some other world, and people belonging to two different worlds generally do not meet in this very particular world. You can take the example of just Shakespeare's Venus and Adonis. Venus, goddess of just love and beauty, she just descended high from the heaven, and actually she wanted a union, or she wanted to have a relation with Adonis, a creature, a young man of this own planet, but they could not succeed in doing that. Same happens if you have a look of John, this same poet, his poem just Endymion, in which Endymion, a shepherd, actually falls in love with the moon goddess Cynthia, but they fail to meet. So same is the case here. So maybe this very particular woman cried, and her cries signified that actually their union was not possible at all. Why? Because they belong to two different worlds. So he says, and she wept and sighed full sore, and there I shut her wild eyes with kisses. For so he says, there that woman became emotional. They developed a kind of emotional bonding with each other. And what did he do when that woman cried? When that woman cried, he wiped her tears and expressed also his deep love and affection and passion for that lady, and gave her 4 kisses. For here, deliberately the poet has used the word for, so that this word can rhyme with the word sore, and for also this you can just signify the strong emotion or feeling or deep love this speaker, or sorry, the knight had for the lady. Why? Because that lady had enthralled him. And there she lulled me asleep. And see, so if she had a deep affection, strong love, why did she lull him to sleep? Why did she behave with him, or why she did something to put him to sleep? Why? Because she wanted to seduce him, and really she seduced him. She sexually exploited the speaker, exploited the knight of this very particular poem. And after that, what happened? See this. And there she lulled me asleep, and and then I dreamed. And see here then th, and then I dreamed. He says, after that I dreamed, woe betide, a very horrible and painful kind of a woman suffering. So it was a kind of a very sad, or it was the nightmare, means it was the horrible dream I ever had in my life, and maybe it was the last dream of my own life, and maybe I was not going to dream again, means maybe he was not going to fall asleep, maybe he was going to die, that it means. So he says that after that I had a dream. When she made me asleep, after that I had a nightmare, a horrible dream. The latest dream means the last dream I ever dreamt on the cold hillside. So the cave, or the place of the dwelling of this fairy woman, actually was just close to a cold hillside, and there he fell asleep and had the last dream of his own life. It signifies that the speaker means that the knight is just inching his death, means going to die. See, I saw pale kings and princes too. So he saw kings he saw, you can say, dead kings and princes. He said, pale warriors, death pale were they all. So how did they look like? Absolutely dead, like just like the bodies and the faces of the dead bodies actually becomes absolutely yellow, just to lose the glow and lose the glow of the life and the animation of the life. In the same manner, those just kings and princes who those kings and princes he saw in his dream were horrible. They looked horrible. Looked just like the ghost. They cried, La Belle Dame Sans Merci. So he says that you have fallen victim to the beautiful lady without mercy, just as we fell victim to her, just as she victimized us and seduced us and left us on this cold hillside to die. In the same manner, she has also victimized you. She has also seduced you. Her seduction means you are left here to die, just as we met our end. We met our death after her seduction. In the same manner, you're also going to meet your end. The hath enthralled means enslaved you. You have become the victim of this lady without mercy. I saw their starved lips in the gloom. So he says that he saw their lips. Their lips were wide open. Their lips were starved, means hungry, with horrid warning gap, means open wide. So he says the mouth of those horrible looking kings and princes were wide open, and they were giving him the warning that he was victimized by that lady, he was seduced by that lady, and if he had been seduced, what was sure? He was going to die. With horrid warning gaped wide, and I awoke and found me here. He says, this horrible dream disturbed me in my sleep, and I woke up. And when I woke up, I found myself here on this cold hillside. And this is actually the reason that I am here sojourning, wandering, all alone with a pale and haggard look on my own face. It means I am also doomed to death, he means. And I awoke and found me here on the cold hillside, and this is why sojourn here alone and palely loitering, means moving. Though the sedge, means grass, means vegetation, is withered from the lake and no bird sings. So he says, though the atmosphere, the condition of the atmosphere is absolutely not good at all, there is death almost everywhere. So see how smartly the poet has set the tone of the poem, just in the beginning and just at the end of the poem, that there is death almost everywhere in the atmosphere. Why? Because this speaker of the poem means the knight of the poem is also just going to, he's also doomed to die. Why? Because he's seduced. So here the poet, in short, we can say that has shown the deadliness, that deadliest part of the love or deadliest part of the obsession, that if someone becomes obsessive for something, particularly in love, something that is beyond his reach, that obsession somehow dooms that person to his or her death, just as the night of this poem. So I hope, my dear learner, these last 6 stanzas of the poem, you may have better access to that. You must have understood each and every line of these last 6 stanzas. Provided that you find any complication, do feel absolutely free to let me know. And before I end and wrap, again I would like to tell you that this is a ballad. Ballad is a poem written or composed in quatrain. Quatrain is a stanza of 4 lines, and ballad, if the poem is ballad, it means a story is narrated in verse. So here the poet of this poem, that is John Keats, has narrated a story of a knight at arms. Knight, where I told you, knights were the military officers working under the king. They were brave, they were chivalrous, but the knight of this poem is not brave and chivalrous. Why? Because he is doomed to die. Since this knighthood was in existence, in operation in the medieval age, so the setting of the poem is medieval age, and John Keats was fond of all these. So, my dear learner, that's it in this video.